Hello, everyone, and this is Chop It Up Hoop with your pal Sal. Today I have two special guests. I have Pat Burnett. Say what's up, Pat.
What's up,
And
everybody?
from episode 1, he decided to join us again. I have T Mac in the house.
What it do?
So I just want you to give a little background about yourself. You know, what you've done, some of the things you've had to deal with, but just first of all, what got you into basketball?
I didn't even think I was gonna play basketball. Like you couldn't tell me 10 years ago I wasn't going. Well, not even 10. Growing up, I wasn't going to the NFL. You feel me? Like I just played football. That was my thing. But however, I'm 27. My brother's 30. So we were my mom like first three kids. So and we had a sister. So me and my brother, my mom would dress us alike and do all this type of thing. So over time, I just wanted to be like my brother. So the more and more I seen him play basketball, I just wanted to pick it up. Like, here's the reason why I picked it up and everything like that. So I started, fourth grade or whatever. And then, I'm from Erie, so played a little bit there. Moved to Jacksonville, seventh grade. And I was getting ready to play at Fort Caroline Middle. But however, we ended up moving back to Erie. And then I didn't play. No, matter of fact, I played my freshman year there. And then we moved back to Jacksonville. Didn't play sophomore year. I played junior and senior year. And then, yeah, after that really is when the journey started because it was like, okay, bet this is what I wanted to do. So I was sitting at home one day after, like I said, senior season at Atlantic Coast. And my coach told me to go to FSCJ workout. And I went. And that's when it all started, the process of just being able to. One of the biggest lessons I learned from going to FSCJ, like in that moment, I didn't like it. Like, I promise you, I thought that was the worst place I could be in the world.
No doubt, no doubt.
But honestly, my mom told me, she's like, you're going to get something out of it. You don't know what it is now, you're going to get something out of it. And one of the things that still keep me going with my goals and personal goals in basketball is when Coach Orr said, you giving up everything right now to have later. So I say that to tell myself, sometimes I remind myself, if I have everything I wanted right now or that I think I want it, what would I do with it? And the fact that I don't have no answer, it gives me peace to keep going because I'm not there yet. So, yeah.
I always say, God has a plan for all of us, and sometimes it's not in our time and it's in His.
Facts. Facts. When I
And,
was
well, I was going to say, Pat, it's good that, that you had someone to look up to. I grew up with 4 sisters, so I really didn't have a brother to look up to. I had 2 older sisters and 2 younger sisters. So, so you would kind of like, it's good that you had someone to mentor you like an older brother because that's important. And a lot of times you talk about there's challenges, but having an older brother can be a challenge because he's going to push you, he's going to sometimes he'll bully you, but having those challenges and understanding that he's trying to make me better at the end of the day is always going to benefit you.
Oh, definitely. It would be times to where, like, okay, I hit a growth spur like going into my senior year, but I was always small. But I was always really competitive. So my brother doing the things he would do back then definitely plays a part now. So we used to play in the driveway 1-on-1, and he would beat me bad, and be talking while he's doing it. But I never liked it, so we would stay outside. He can beat me 3 times. I got to beat him 8 times. It has to be 8-3. There's no way like we even close or whatever. So I have to keep going. So that just helped grow my competitive nature in a sense.
Yeah, it does. I remember I wouldn't let Noah ever win. So the minute he beat me, he knew that he earned it.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't one of those dads that just like, even my wife would say, man, just let him win. I was like, what's he going to learn from that? He's not going to learn to be competitive. He's not going to learn to earn it. And, you know, we talked about, we talk about trophy kids, right? Kids that they just get a trophy because they participation trophies, right? Selling and being the best of the best, those are the accolades that you'll learn even in life. Not everybody's going to have the opportunity to play the game. Even if you're even with you, Pat, not everybody's going to have a chance to take it to the next level yet, but you're still working on it because you understand that the grind for some is a little bit harder than the grind for others. Some people, they just got the exposure at a young age. And
Mhm.
it was something that, like, one of the things that I really talk about is the difference between D3 to D1 is sometimes exposure. Duncan Robinson didn't even get noticed in Michigan. It just so happened he was going, Beeline was actually going to see another player. And that's generally what happens. They end up seeing another player. And it was Coach Beeline's wife that said, "Hey, I think you should give this kid a chance." So sometimes it's the people in your ear that have your best interest, you know, and it's all about it's timing too, being at the right place at the right time. John Morant, right? He was in the B group, and it just so happened the one of the assistants from Murray State who was scouting at the time in the A gym was going to get a bag of chips. And he ended up hearing another game going on. He walked in there and he just saw John Morant go up and down the court like 2 or 3 times, and he called up "Do we have any scholarships left?" kind of thing. That's that's where I'm talking about timing, you know? It's who you're in front of at the time. And sometimes a lot of these young kids, they're getting hyped up at a really young age now. And so there's I call it a small pocket of people or players that coaches are generally looking at. They don't understand right now they're not casting the net wide. They're basically just going with a core group of kids, and they're all battling for the same kids.
Talking about the coaches and everything, I feel like there's a problem with how they're doing it now because I look from the view of the overall love of the game, you know. So like you said, yeah, it's cool to get this kid because it's a one and done and he can help your program or whatever. But now that puts a lot of pressure on these other kids and these parents putting way more pressure on this kid who's not getting attention yet to, oh, why don't you have the attention? You need to be you need to be doing that. So then now these kids are like, I have to do this or I have to do it instead of I want to. When
Mhm.
you allow a kid to just play and play for the fun of the game, they will find out ways to get to where they want to go. Once I feel like there was at a point in time where I had to separate myself, like even throughout my process, because everybody's just in my ear, like, oh, you doing this or you doing that. Example, perfect example. Will Holloman just had his one-on-one tournament for $5,000 or whatever. I wanted to play in it just because I wanted to play basketball. The closer it got to the tournament, everybody's like, "Hey man, $5,000. It's a lot of money. It's this and that." I didn't want to play no more. Like I understand what I can get out of it, but it's like that's not why I'm trying to play. I want to play for the love of the game, for basketball, for fun. So the same thing, and with kids, when we went to church with you, pastor talked about kid like faith, keeping that kid like faith. That allows your creativity to flow. So if you constantly put pressure on these kids because they already see it, kids are already into social media, so they already see it. So once they put their phone down, in a sense, they don't need to hear it from their parents. Oh, you're not working because you had 2 points. It's like we're all human. It's taking like the human out of everything, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's kind of taking the fun out of it too. They are enjoying it, and I think it's such a cash cow though nowadays, whether it's with the training or whether it's with the leagues or whatever, or whether even with AAU. I mean, I do travel ball and I see it's a cash cow. There are really good kids at the same time. It's a money grab sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
They're
For sure.
just saying, like me, if I train or if I bring a kid in, even with my middle school team, if I bring them in and they tell me, "Hey, there's a homeschool kid that wants to try out for my team," and I do allow 4 homeschool kids, the first thing I evaluate are the parents. I don't evaluate the kid. I evaluate the parents, because if their parents are just hyping them up the whole time, I'm like, "You got your standards wrong,"
Mm-hmm.
The kids should be like just wanting to have fun with the game. They're gonna learn the game as they get better and better, and they're with their friends, and they're competing against kids that are better than them, because I have a rule. I just say whenever I'm training kids and there's like a group, I just tell the ones that are younger or the ones that are not as experienced, I say catch up. I don't coddle them. I say catch up because if I give them something to strive for and they're watching the other kids that are better, they're going to want to get better. But if
Definitely.
I coddle them and I say, "Oh, well, don't worry. Here's how you need to do this. Here's how you need to do that." No, it stifles also their creativity, their individualism, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because no one player plays the same. I
Yeah.
mean, if
No
you look
proof.
at I mean, well, no one human is the same because I don't just want to isolate it to just us as just being players, or as Travis or as Pat as being a player. No one human is the same. We all have different characteristics. We all have different traits about us. Same robots, it would be boring. So,
No, definitely. What they say, growing up, every snowflake is different, so it's the same. So I feel like I said, a lot of times nowadays, these kids are bred to do that because, like you said, the cash cow thing. Like parents are seeing other people doing. Oh, my son can do this. He can do. He probably can do it. He doesn't want to though, but they're forcing the kids to do so, and it's like that is messing everything up because it was a movie like The Cookout. Like I don't know if you ever seen it, Trav.
yeah, I have seen that.
Yeah, and it was like the dude, the cousin is a basketball player, and the mama has a son who's a doctor. He can do all of this, but she's trying to get him to show out in front of this agent, and it's like, Mom, I want to be a doctor. All this other stuff is cool. I do it for fun because you have to have fun outside of everything. Like you have to find some peace. Like even me, like I can't just do basketball 24/7. I hate when people say that because you will crash out. So you have to have fun. So he was doing it for fun, but the fact that he's good at it, oh, you have to do this, you have to do that. No, that's not what I want to do. So you forcing people, like I just feel like it's just forcing kids to do stuff that they may or may not want to do. Like in the moment, yeah, I'm doing it because I want to have fun with my friends, like you said, but I didn't have thoughts of doing it. Like I said, I didn't even have thoughts of going to the NBA. I wanted to go to the NFL. It's just God, it just took me.
Yeah. You'd still make a pretty nice wide receiver, tight end. You big boy, Patrick.
And but I think I have flashes every time I'm playing basketball, play the passing lanes. Hey, I should have played football.
Well, God had a different plan for you. You know what I mean? A different path. I mean, what's your degree in psychology now? You're getting your master's.
Yes, sir.
So,
Business.
hey, it's all you're gonna be helping other kids. You're gonna be whether it's mental health. A lot of times that's important. Understanding the mental health of kids. That's one thing that I've always even now that my son is in college, I always ask him, "How's your mental health?" And I think I've asked you a couple times, Travis, and how's your mental health? Because of the fact that, we need people to talk to. We just can't be in our own little bubble. And sometimes, social media will put us in our own bubble and we'll just like disconnect from others that are really close to us. So, it's important that we continue to have dialogue with one another, especially people that you care about.
Definitely. I agree.
I was talking about there's a broader net. Like some of the coaches they become more singular as far as they just know there's certain players that they want, certain times. And when I was young, coaches would go to high schools. They don't even go to high schools anymore. They just
Mhm.
go straight to the circuit. You know, I've gone to circuits, whether it's EYBL or whether it's the Under Armour or whether it's the Adidas Gauntlet, and the coaches are there to watch certain individuals, and that's it.
For
Certain
sure.
games, and that's it. So it's like I said, it's rare where a coach will find that diamond in the rough because of the fact that, oh, I just went to go get a bag of chips, or I just happened to get up early, went and sit and found like Javon Carter, Coach Huggy Bear, right? He found Javon Carter. He just happened to be sitting through a game, and you know how he loves the full court press. He's done it with Cincinnati. He's done it with West Virginia. Anywhere he's been, Kansas State, he likes to kind of full court press. So he likes guys with motors on them. And he just happened to see Javon Carter with a cup. He was sitting there with a cup of coffee, and now that's how he spotted Javon. How can the coaching aspects? How can they cast their net a little bit more?
So I'll say I don't know how it was for Travis, but so if we're going off a coaching standpoint or whatever, I'm looking at it from the reps on rep standpoint. Honestly, just be more open minded. Like I went JUCO, I went NAIA. Just even from being from where I'm from, like I wasn't supposed to do anything that I'm doing now, so called. That's what people say. So just being more open minded because there's no right way to play basketball. There's no blueprint. The only objective is to stop somebody from scoring and putting the ball in the bucket. Everybody can do that. So I use my personal experience to showcase that. I didn't went to pro runs and whatever. And if you look on paper, York College is the lowest, whatever, and I shouldn't be doing what I'm doing, but however I am. So you never know, like you said, just walking, getting coffee. This can be one of the best players ever, but he just don't have that exposure or something like that. So I just say being open minded. And I personally believe as a coach, you can give me 15 players. I don't even have to know who they are. If you give me some time and work with them, I will put everyone in position to be good, to make things work. So definitely being open minded, because also if you're not open minded and you just go to these specific kids, that comes with an ego as well. And then also now you have to take everything outside of just basketball, off the court stuff, how they are, this and that. And then will you be able to teach them? Everybody can't teach. There's a different teacher for something else. So it's like, yeah, maybe I can coach him on the court, but off the court, I can't control him. So why would I bring him here? That is selfish for me to bring him here personally. So just being more open minded and actually being aware and just having that conversation with yourself. Honestly, it's what Kobe said. I just apply that to every aspect of life.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times coaching is a big aspect to it because sometimes coaches, you have some coaches that are just really great coaches that, you can tell they care about the players and they try to find out what drives each individual player. But there are some coaches, that just treat every player like a monolith,
Mm,
They like, okay, you play basketball, put the ball in the hoop, lot in. Nobody really takes time to invest in the kids. And I think I have a saying that I say all the time. Nobody cares what you know till they know that you care. Like there are the really good coaches really believe Popovich really cares about his players because of the fact that he will take he will take guys that you've never even known before and he basically turns them into champions. I mean, Tony Parker, I mean, he was doing it in France, but that w I mean, but Boris Diaw, he was doing it, but he wasn't doing it, like, super great, but he was able to fit him in, and I think it's finding the right pieces too, a good chemistry, and also those that don't I mean, sometimes you gotta check your ego at the door.
definitely. Facts. I agree.
And I
And
think,
to be real, it's like I said, the thing, or at FSCJ, Coach Orr, I would keep going to that because I use him all the time. We did not win a game. And I'm trying to tell you, I promise you, that first year, we had the most talent that has ever been on a basketball team. Ever.
mhm.
My first year. But we didn't win a game. However, a lot of things at the time, a lot of my teammates didn't understand or whatever. But he knew what he was talking about because it's more than just life things. A lot of people, like I said, he wasn't selfish at all. So if you look at it in a basketball sense, some people might call him a bad coach, but he knew one day that that ball will stop bouncing. He was
Mhm.
a life coach. He
Mhm.
taught us a lot about life. Everything that he said helped me adapt on the court, but also maneuver throughout life and become a better man, which is the most important thing at the end of the day. Because I started to realize once I started to grow within myself and being able to accept certain things, I became a better player. So I give him his flowers and his props to this day. Like I said, granted, things happen how it happened, and I, feel like situations could have been different, but everything happens for a reason. So I appreciate that guy to this day. So
Yeah, and
I don't.
because of the money, people look at the win because it's a wins and losses kinda game, and people don't know what goes on behind the scenes, you know, like what currently just happened, Steve Nash getting fired, right? We don't know
Mhm.
what's going on behind the scenes. We just know that Steve Nash
Yeah.
got fired. He's the head coach, and you know who you gonna you got to pick someone to fire, and you're not gonna get rid of KD or Kyrie, right?
Too much.
So who's the next one? Who's the next person up? Oh, Steve Nash. And then you hear about Ime Udoka, and I'm like, dude, do you really? You just got rid of Steve Nash, and you're going to bring in super drama? I'm like, we can't do that. I mean, you're trying to get this team going, and then you know Kyrie and social media and all that stuff that's going on. So there's so many distractions. So I think that we also have, like you said, with Coach Orr was his name.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so Coach Orr, I mean, he when we're talking about JUCO, we're talking about he's not just a coach. He's a mentor. He's got to make sure kids are getting to class. There are some kids there, I don't know how a food stipend works. There are some kids there that he probably has to help feed. There's more than you're almost a father figure in JUCO or NAIA or whatever it is because of the fact that if the program isn't like a powerhouse program, they're running on a shoestring budget.
Mm-hmm.
So
For
those are
sure.
the things with kids, and he understands that these kids, Coach Orr, he understands these kids are here first and foremost. He wants to get them in their education because
Definitely.
you kept saying the ball will eventually stop bouncing, and when it does, he would rather say, I have 15 doctors and lawyers that I help create versus one NBA player.
Right.
You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? That's probably more of a, like you said, those are the flowers that he would probably appreciate more than one NBA player. And I think that what we're doing is we're creating an entertainment society where everyone wants to be a pro player or everyone wants to be, uh, uh, what do you call it? An influencer and stuff like that. I mean, we get on here, we're having a nice little dialogue, but we do this because we enjoy talking about the game. We enjoy chopping it
Mm-hmm.
up. We enjoy each other's company and making sure asking how each other's doing and talking about the commonalities that we have. It isn't because we're trying to blow up. Like me, I started this because of the fact that I enjoy talking to you guys. I enjoy having. I mean, you two are the first two guys I thought about having to have this conversation with. And
I
so it's
appreciate
just
it.
about, and Trav, you're all the way in Sweden, right? So
Mm.
it's just it's amazing how technology works, but technology can be the downfall, especially when people think that they're gonna. I mean, there are certain there's it's less than 1% of people that are gonna play any type of pro sport.
Mm-hmm. And
Mhm.
it's more so, and this is another thing Coach Orr said too. Be a pro. So that is more than just on the court, like we said. Like it's sometimes when you right, you wrong. You know, you just have to take it. Like a lot of things can't be said. So there'll be times where I'll have to call him during my seasons, or a certain situation, even in college. And even then, I'm not a pro yet, but that's what I want. He'd tell me be a pro, and it was more than face value. He wouldn't tell me because he knew how I am, so he wouldn't tell me exactly what the answer was or what he meant by, but he knew how to figure it out. So just be a pro and figure it out. Like there's a lot to just that saying, because then everybody thinks just basketball is just doing this or doing that. Sometimes being a pro just means shutting up because you feel like you're the best on the team, but coach already has the starting five or whatever. Because I went through this little politics stuff a few times, so be a pro. Your time will come. But until then, you have to be a pro. And being a pro is being there sitting on that bench and cheering your team on until it's your time. So I learned a lot of valuable lessons from that guy. You feel me? And yeah, he taught me a lot. So
And a lot of times it's being that consummate team player, understanding that, I might not be the one who's starting, but I'm going to continue to be a positive person to those around us and those who and just like let your light shine, I always say, let your
mhm.
light shine on people and it's going to rub off. And it's funny how you see some of the players that are on the team and you're like, how's this person still on the team? They're not really that good, but they're the most consummate teammate. They're there, they encourage their teammates. They're happy for them when they with their successes. They're there for them when they're feeling down and they can basically give them words of encouragement. So you need all types on the team, if you put like there even like a dream team, right? I mean, there were other players that could have made it other than John Stockton, right? But John Stockton was on a dream team, the first dream team. I mean, what did he say? He was going through when they were in Madrid, he was walking through Madrid and nobody even knew who he was. They knew everybody else, but nobody even knew who he was. He would be there with his family and his wife, and nobody knew him. And it was great for him. it's sometimes being that person behind the scenes can really make a big impact to those who are in front of it all, and they can give them a better perspective. That's why a lot of the coaches, the most successful coaches, are the ones who were like way in the low end of the depth chart. I mean, Steve Kerr played, and Steve Kerr made some big shots, but he maximized his minutes, but he was still a player's coach because he was not like a starter. He was not the guy who he was not that guy that he was in Arizona. You know what I mean?
It's more so, how you carry yourself. Um, the 15th man on the roster, can be the most professional guy. Just for just being a guy who can accept his role. You know, maximize his role. Show up early every day. Just it's just the way you carry yourself and how you carry yourself. How you treat others. Stuff like that. So being a pro, like Pat said, it's how it's a lifestyle. It's how you carry yourself. On and off the court. It's whether you wake up on time. Waking up and is the first thing you do. Check your phone, or you waking up and you starting your day by maybe stretching, reading a book, getting ready, however you get ready. Um, so I mean, just I just think that being a pro is a really deceptive term. Like I feel like there's more to it than like I said, being a star, just being somebody who plays professional basketball.
Well, you've said it. I mean, pro is just a short term for saying professional.
Hmm.
Doesn't matter what type of job you do, you got to maintain professionalism. And those who maintain that professionalism for a long period of time will end up reaping the benefits from that, you know. And
Hmm.
it's just a matter of time before people will start to notice and people will give those that have been waiting the opportunities. And it's just important that we acknowledge those that are there, you know, when we're talking about whether it's teams or work, those that are there to support any league. When we talk about, I mean, nobody talks about payroll. How important is payroll, right? I'm supposed to get a check. We don't know how we get the check. We just know that it was direct deposited into there. But
Right.
we don't realize that there's a group called payroll, and they're the ones who are making sure that we're getting our checks every single
Hmm.
pay period.
Yeah,
Or,
sure.
facilities people. When we talk about the arena or where you play at, there are people that are maintaining that so that you can actually excel
Right.
and you can perform at your best. And most people don't really think about those aspects to it. And those people should get their flowers too, as you were talking about, Pat.
Most definitely.
And because it takes a team from the person, the people who do maintenance, all the way to that superstar on the court in order for everything to function the way it should function. And I think not everybody is at that top tier, but everybody is a team player. And if we learn to be really good team players and be excellent at what we do when we're doing it,
Hmm.
everything else will fall into place.
Definitely, the actors aren't anything without the cameraman. So, and then also like an example, I feel like of being a pro. I've been on teams to where, and I had conversations with Travis with this about this, but honestly, I worked out a lot to like really how I score this ball sometimes surprises me. But I've been on teams to where everyone believes that they can score, but no one wants to play defense. So no matter what, no, everybody's going to shoot this ball. That's just what they're going to do. So I just took initiative to be that one. Bet I'm Tony Allen. First team all defense. I'll just play defense, and y'all shoot the ball. But however, I get a rebound. I'm gonna crash the boards because I get the rebound. We still need points. So they're shooting shots, but we still need points. So I'm just gonna score in a different way. Being from York, when the G League draft thing came out, I don't know none of the schools, but I'm pretty sure at there I was maybe the only NAI on that list. And just being from where I'm from, me and my agent talk about it. The last person who went and did anything for basketball in the NBA was probably like 1970 something. So it's just all of these signs that you're not supposed to do it because of other people's limitations. But once you keep that kid like faith and allow your creativity to flow, you will put yourself in position to be where you need to be because God knows your heart's pure. That's what you want to do, and you're working for it. So you would just put yourself there. It might take some time, but you will eventually put yourself in position to do what you want to do.
Yeah, and if you're really passionate about something, you're going to find other ways to do it. It might not be actually being on the court, but you might actually become a broadcaster, or you might become uh, equipment manager, or
Mhm.
you might become uh, a coach, an assistant. There are ways that you can continue to do it. I know people, a lot of the kids who they become, a lot of kids who play college basketball. It's funny that the ones who aren't in the starting lineup or aren't playing as much, they end up becoming assistants, and they end up having teams that they coach. And because I guess they see the bigger picture,
Mhm.
they see what their limitations are, and they understand, because of their limitations, what's my next step. And I think that those are things that everyone says, I just there's no plan B. I just got plan A. My plan A. This is my goal. I'm going to go for it. Go for the gusto. But you got to have a plan B. I'm sorry. Regardless of what anybody says, there has to be a plan B. Because if plan A doesn't work out, you're stuck holding the bag. And when we're talking about, from an athlete standpoint, if you're stuck holding the bag, you might have kids. You might have family members that supposedly they're relying on you, and it's a big burden. A lot of these athletes, they're talking, once they make it big, they're trying to take care of a lot of people, and I'm like, I don't even know why they need to do that. It's like a certain obligation that they have. But the thing is the a lot of times, like me, I grew up with a single mom. The only obligation I would have is to my mom. That's how I feel. I don't have an obligation to friends or distant relatives or anything like that. I just have an obligation, to my mom, and get her into something better. That would be my whole obligation. And I think a lot of people don't understand the pressures that come from being an athlete, because there's a lot of pressure on it in being an
Fact,
athlete. I'm sorry. I don't wish, when it comes to, like, you're injured and you still got to play. And the reason you play is, a lot of it has to do with, because there are just as good players waiting in the helm to actually take your spot.
Mhm.
So you will play through injuries, you will play hurt, you will do all that stuff, because you know that this person might show out and I might lose my spot.
Tom
So
Brady.
when we talk about pressure, I mean, it's insane for an athlete. I don't care what division or whatever you're playing, from a pro standpoint, semi-pro, G League, NBA, Europe. There is a lot of pressure on each individual to actually perform, and next man up, right? What do they say in football? Next man up, and then in NBA, it's a make or miss league.
Mhm.
That's what you hear it all the time, make or miss. So
Mhm.
you just it, we that's why when I talk about mental health is important. And do you guys ever listen to Royce White?
Nah, I
You
don't
know
know.
who he is, right? He's
Mm-mm.
from the big he basically went to Iowa State, and he's the one who started. Remember when he got drafted by the Houston Rockets, and he actually put put to the forefront the mental illness thing, and he brought it to the forefront, and he literally couldn't fly. He was dealing with some mental illness issues, and it's real because of the fact that look at now Kevin Love. Now all these players are coming out. But I think it can get like he brought it to the forefront and we treated him like a pariah. Now Ben Simmons brings it up and you can tell compared for Ben Simmons versus Royce White is totally different. You know, I I don't know. You guys help me out with that because I see Ben Simmons and I saw what Royce White was dealing with. I mean, the man had some major anger issues and stuff like that. And I mean, he was super intelligent too. He really is. He will. And just ran for. I think he just ran for political office in Minneapolis, St. Paul, where he's from.
Hmm.
So,
I agree. I mean, just like a small, I guess, example of that. Personally, without going way into detail, like I deal with a lot growing up, so it kind of like, some PTSD things to where it created a lot of anxiety. So a lot of people don't know this, but when I'm playing, and I'm like, because like you get caught up in a game, so you lock in and do whatever. But then, like, say it's a dead ball or it's a foul or a timeout or whatever. So let's say I get fouled, I can't look at the stands because my anxiety is like racing. Like I really have bad anxiety. So, but that's why I love basketball because I can focus on a bunch of different things all at one time to where it's like I don't know, like chaos is peaceful to me in a sense. So when I'm shooting my free throws, I look at the ground. Like I don't look anywhere else because it would just come and go. So like a lot of, I can't really explain it, but like there is a lot of things, but people don't take it into consideration. Oh, because when you look at the NBA, oh, they got money, so they should be okay. Kind of, and it's not that at all. Like there's a lot of things that you have to go through with this basketball stuff because it's easier said than done, but other people limit expectations and then all of this stuff and then dealing with yourself. I feel like once you decide to go pro and be a pro, like Travis, for example, things like people will probably say to him back when he was in high school. Now that they're doing that, they won't even do because you're a pro. You shouldn't be. You should be okay. You shouldn't. None should be wrong with you. You feel me? So I don't know why they have this thing like once you turn pro, you're just not human anymore. I don't know why people have that, but I agree. Like there's a lot of stuff. So and we're all different. So some things that may be trigger for somebody may not be a trigger for someone else. So when someone asserts this, like Ben Simmons or whatever, like it's funny, but that's why I hate social media now, just because of the way like it's portrayed and the things that are promoted, because it's not real life situations. So
mhm. And also
it's
when you put money into into the picture, it makes it to where just like if I go to my job today and they're paying me a lot of money to do my job and I'm
hmm
not performing, they're going to fire me because it's their business. They can do that. Until I start my own business, they have the right to do that. And I think what we're seeing in the NBA is because contracts are guaranteed, okay? Like football, they'll drop you like a bad habit
quick
quick.
right after they
So that's
sign.
why you try to get $120 million contract in the NFL, but I guarantee you maybe 45 million, 50 million, 55 million and that is guaranteed, right? So you're trying to get that all up front
Hmm.
cuz if you don't and they drop you, you lose the rest of the money.
Hmm.
NFL contracts aren't guaranteed. Baseball and NBA contracts are guaranteed. So when they that's the thing. When we talk about someone, say for instance, like Ben Simmons, 5 years, $177 million. To 2025 is when he becomes a unrestricted. He becomes a free agent again, right? Nobody is picking him up. Nobody is scooping up that contract because in the last 3 years he's shown his cards. I mean, I think he's in his own head right now. And I think that he has to basically just play it through. You know what I mean? You ever start playing the game of basketball and then a coach will say, just let's see it play out. Kind of he's got to keep continue to play and he's got to play through it. There are some players, like when I use Royce White as the example, he had external factors that maybe Ben Simmons doesn't have. I don't know if you were watching the Nets game the other day, and Kyrie Irving drove. He kicked it to Ben. He was wide open, and he didn't shoot. And all you heard was Kyrie Irving shout at him saying, "Shoot the ball." And then in a press conference, Kyrie Irving says, listen, he's been out. He's getting his flow, getting back into it. He's trying to stay positive. But as players, too, you have an obligation while you're on that court to perform the best because they're giving it their all. Don't you want them to, don't you want that person, the other person to give it their all?
That's true. And however, though, so, and I'm not making no excuse because from a player standpoint, I do get mad when I watch him play as well in certain things. But however, he has vocalized the fact that he cannot play, no matter what it is going in his mind or whatever it may be to somebody else. He said he cannot play. And sometimes the simple answer is only the right answer, and we just have to listen to people. I feel like now social media acts like we really care about people's mental health, but not really too much because, like I said, even in the sense of let's go back, just like D Rose when he first got hurt, everybody wanted to see him play again, so they rushed him back, and he got hurt again.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those things. Like sometimes when people tell you things, no matter what, you have to take it into consideration. And then also, I don't give people like the fact that well they paid him all this because that's what people say. Oh, they paid him all this money. They did this and did that. And I had a conversation about my teammate. We always once something happens, people are like, oh, I seen that sign. I knew this. I knew that. But it only becomes a sign once something happens. So
Mm-hmm.
prior to this thing happening, there are signs, but we as people just don't want to see the signs or accept the signs until some stuff happens. So if he's doing all of this, those few times in practice or in years when he started this in Philly, signs were showing that he should have had help or something should have happened. But now the fact that it's getting to this point, everybody has something to say now. I'm pretty sure he asked for help in some way, shape, or form. So now just the bashing thing, or even in the sense of Kyrie with the COVID thing, how they were coming at him. At first they told him he didn't have to take it and didn't have to do this, but then everybody started to come in with their opinions and expectations and money, and then now
Money,
things.
money, money.
So that's all it is. It's like at the end of the day, people said everybody who's not like just I won't even say regular job because I hate that term and famous whatever, but people who work like you said regular jobs. We have this thing if I don't go to work today, if I feel sick, like you said, I have to go because if not, they're gonna fire me. They're gonna for his health and doing all of this and said he couldn't play. So as a player, man, I'm not trying to hear that. Like you need to hoop because you this and that. But as a human first, I agree. Like I agree with you.
Well, he can say, listen, I can't play. Okay, but there comes a point we're looking into the third year, right? When we're talking about Ben Simmons, there comes a point where he needs to basically say, "Listen, I'm going to cut my losses." But he's got 177 million dollars, right? 5 years. I still got 3 years left on my contract. He's basically he's riding this thing out,
Mm-hmm.
and he can say, "I'm injured. I'm this. I'm that," and or he could just be honest, like you said. If he says I can't play anymore, be honest with the organization. Take your money, take everything you've earned. You've earned enough to take care of your family and everything. And just, hey, be honest with yourself. Don't just say, okay, like he didn't play last night because of his knee. Was it really because of his knee? We don't know. So, I mean, we just have to, and this is just an example we're using when we're talking about mental health.
Definitely.
You can see like Kevin Love was dealing with a lot. He talked about his mental health, but Kevin Love still continued to play at a high level. And what he did is the therapy he was taking really, really helped him. He was able to get stuff off his chest. He was able to find other ways of focusing and locking in.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, you looked at the ground, and when you get on the court, everything else, it's just noise, you know? And the thing is, some people handle it better than others, you know? And I totally get that aspect of it. And it's just like anything in life, you have to basically there's going to be challenges, and it's how you adjust to the challenges. And I think when we talk about, I don't like to say society nowadays, but when we talk about it, like you said, it is exposed. Everybody's, it's the instant click, right? It's the dopamines of seeing information, and also it's a hate culture, you know?
Facts.
We feel like we'll get more clicks by hating on somebody than saying something cool about somebody, you know? Like, I really enjoy having these discussions because of the fact that I want to hear what other people have to say. I'd rather have two people that are contrary that can say something different from what I'm saying than having being agreeable, because
Definitely.
that's all that is an echo chamber. You're just reaffirming everything I say. And we need more lions and we need less sheep. But the thing is, it's the other way around. We have more sheep and we have less lions. For Pat or Travis, what are your recommendations to those who want to pursue this this career path of playing pro basketball? I mean, what do you say to them if you had to sit with yourself, a young Travis or a young Pat, and they started telling you this is what I want to do, and now you've seen the good stuff and the bad stuff? What are some of the things you would be telling them?
To it. Like, there's no cons whatsoever. There's trials and tribulations for sure. But there's no cons because everything is a lesson and you're doing it for a reason. Go back to FSCJ. Coach Orr had me playing the 4 and 5. I'm 6'2", 160, playing the 4 and 5. And I'm like, man, what am I doing now?
6'11", 250, 6'11", 250.
Now though, after them 2 years of playing the 4 and 5, I have that mindset. I'm 6'11", 250 to the point. Sometimes, like even this past season, like I really think that I had to tell myself, "You're not." Like I had to look at him. You're not 6'11", 250 because my body started to hurt. But it, like I said, in that moment, I thought it was a calm. Like, man, he just don't want me doing that. He don't want me doing that. But however, I still wanted to play basketball. If you're legit not 6'11", 250 pounds, you're too small to be playing with me. So I use it to my advantage. I'm going to the post or whatever. So just like I said, I go back to it and it's more than face value because it means a lot. But keeping that kid like faith and just going. Like I'm telling you, Sal, when we went to church and he said that in that moment, it changed a lot in my mind because it's more than face value. So just apply it to every aspect that allow my creative flow to go. And then if I can go back to myself, then I tell myself all the time, the only difference between me and now is just my mindset of saying, F it, like we're gonna do it. We're gonna go. I do the same workouts I did back then. I do the same workouts I do now. However, I just had a mindset. I'm shooting this ball. I'm shooting this ball because I'm also playing defense. I'm also passing this. I do everything. So just allowing myself to make mistakes because it's gonna happen. So I used to think too much. Like I had to look myself in the mirror. Like, who are you? Like, who do you think you are? Like, I used to get mad if I miss a shot. Like, I still do. I hold myself accountable, but I always wanted everything to be perfect, and nothing will ever be perfect. Like the expectation of being perfect. So just give yourself credit, but also hold yourself accountable. But at the end of the day, just have fun with it. To be real, the more I started just to have fun again, because at one point, like I said, growing up as a kid, I started off at having fun, but then going to college and doing all this stuff, it's like, man, I got to do this because I got to do that. I got to do that. No, having that kid like faith, man, I'm playing this because I want to. I want to just have fun, and I'm doing that, and it just allows everything to flow and grow. So yeah, that would be the biggest thing. Like when I teach kids, is have fun, make mistakes, like make mistakes because you learn from them. One thing
Yep.
I know about basketball is, as a player, when you mess up or you airball in the game, you do this, you do that, you already telling yourself that in your head. You don't need somebody else telling you the same thing over and over. So allowing yourself to mess up because it gives you lessons and It's growth. If you mess up, that's growth. My coach always said, if you dribbling this ball and you're not mishandling it, you're not working hard enough, kind of thing. So
For
yeah, just
sure.
give yourself credit and just have fun with it. To be honest.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off of what Pat said, honestly, like I said, I mean, if I was talking to my younger self or somebody like you said that's pushing to to play professional basketball or just pursue basketball in general, I would say that you have to look yourself in the mirror and you have to really ask yourself, like, do you really love this sport? And do you is this really what you want to do? Because if you don't love, like, if you don't really have love for the game, then like you said, like those trials and tribulations, like you won't really learn from them. It'll kind of be like a negative connotation in your head, like even coming overseas, like the pros and cons, yeah, there's pros and there's cons, but like Pat said, like the cons aren't that bad because I'm doing what I love. So I signed up for everything that I came over here to do, whether it's good or bad. So I feel like the love, like you said, like if you really love it, then that helps a lot. And then also if you have fun with the game and you actually play with joy, like, with no pressure on your shoulders. Like we were talking about pressure earlier. Like the more pressure society, or coaches or, yourself, even like the more pressure you put on yourself, the less you enjoy the game. So I feel like the opposite, feeling of pressure, when you play basketball is joy, having fun. And like you said, if you make a mistake, learn from it and just realize that, like you said, like this is what I love to do. That means it's okay to mess up, it's okay to go through, the highs and the lows because this is what I love doing,
And none of us are perfect, Trav, It's
exactly,
we're
exactly.
all gonna make mistakes. I mean, how
Well,
many
I
times
mean,
have you heard that saying? You're not
well, right,
perfect. We're
right.
all gonna make mistakes. So if you're looking for perfection,
Well,
that's
not
a
even
that's a hill you'll die on, because
right.
it won't happen.
Right, and basketball, I want to say basketball. It's one of the hardest sports in the world, and you can't be perfect at. Like everybody's gonna have a turnover. Everybody's gonna miss a shot, But there's also different levels to making mistakes. Like for a lot of people, say for me, like coming out of high school, a lot of people could say I made a mistake going to FSCJ, or I could blame myself for not working hard enough, and getting a Division I scholarship out of high school. So it was a mistake that I went to a JUCO. But in the end, like, going to FSCJ and going to JUCO was one of the biggest blessings and one of the biggest lessons of my life. And it really changed my perspective on basketball. And that was really like the turning point for me in my career when I realized, okay, I really do love basketball. Because if all the stuff that I went through at FSCJ, if I didn't love basketball, I wouldn't have made it. Like, and the people that were there with me, I mean, Pat can vouch for me. I mean, I think me and Pat are probably the only two from both years I was there that are actually still playing basketball because we genuinely love the game. Like we love to play basketball. And if we didn't have that when we were in FSCJ and we were in JUCO, we would have quit. Like I mean, it was that hard. Like
It made everywhere else easy. And then just to go, the last thing I'll say on that, it's a saying that I tell myself. It's like, the bad makes the good great. I don't want things that's just good. I strive to be great. So you got to go through the little cons and mistakes to get a pro. If there's no bad stuff, if there's no cons, then there's no such thing as a pro. It's like you ain't, they go
right,
hand in hand. So the bad makes the good great. If you just want to be good,
yeah,
then go ahead. But I want great, and
And also
it'll come to you.
choosing the people that you surround yourself with, if you like you said when like I said earlier, if you're looking at a younger person, the younger Travis or the younger Pat, would you have surrounded yourself with different people that might have been a little bit more of a positive influence on your life versus some of them that one thing that I've always said to Noah is nobody likes to get in trouble by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You ever heard
right,
that saying before?
of course,
I
Yeah.
heard the
So
second personality thought.
yeah. So I said, trouble loves company. There's another thing that they love. There's a thing they'll say, trouble loves company. So you always want someone with you. So surround yourself with people that are encouraging, that lift you up, that aren't there to drag you down. I know that I think Travis, you might have been at one of my men's open runs where I talk about think about the people that are close to you in your life. Are there people that are really close? There's a small circle and then there's a bigger circle. Are there people that are really close that are toxic that are maybe in that small circle, that tight knit circle that you feel should be on the outer circle? And if there are, what are you going to do about that? Then there are people that are really, really encouraging, that are positive, that you want to see your success, that are maybe in that outer circle that you need to bring closer into your inner circle.
I,
Definitely.
I agree and disagree all at the same time, just
Yeah.
because I personally don't think too much about it. So like, and I say that because you ever heard like the middle child syndrome, like however they
Well,
grow.
I was a
That
middle child. I too
oh,
girl. I was
so
right
yeah,
smack in the
we had
middle,
this
Pat. So
conversation.
I do understand that.
So that thing is kind of real. So then also I seen this video with Country Wayne. He was saying like, God is my accountant. So in the sense of like if this person is bringing me bad energy back, like it's not even a thought to man if I should keep this, like I'm just not going to be there. So the thought of having somebody around you that's negative, whatever, I don't think too much about it. I'm just not around. Like I just, you feel me? So that's why I agree and disagree, because your circle, I feel like anybody that comes around is just God, and God would tell you if you should be with this person or not. So I don't think too much about it. Just in that, people will show you who they are first quarter, and then you just go off of that. And then for one, I'm gonna give my guy his flowers, Travis. But that's why I do tell people your circle. I agree with it too, because now on a positive sense. First of all, the negative thing don't get to me at all, because can't nobody do me more worse than I do me in my head, because I hold myself accountable.
That's
So
true.
that don't get me. But however, there was at a time in Jacksonville, I'm trying to tell you, we was back, what was that, try like 2 years ago or whatever, we were playing, and I just came. I think it was even after ABA. I'm averaging 35 points or whatever. And Sal, I don't know if I was just stressed or whatever, but I swear to you, I woke up one day and I just didn't know how to play basketball no more. Like I really, I would play, I couldn't shoot. Like my body just, the motion of shooting, it just wouldn't happen. Like I'm sitting there, like my anxiety, whatever I was saying, it all, like I just woke up one day.
In baseball, they call that the yips. Have you ever heard of that before? It's where a pitcher is essentially pitching in the middle of the game, and then all of a sudden, he forgets how to pitch. These are where it happens with professionals. It's called the yips. Have you ever heard of that before, Patrick?
This first
Have
time.
you? Have you, Travis?
Nope.
Yeah. So essentially, they're doing fine. They're crushing it. And it's look it up. You'll find it, and it's called the yips. And baseball player, all of a sudden, they just forget all their mechanics and everything. And in the middle of a game, they're like throwing the ball into the stands. It's
Yeah.
insane. So a lot of it's just your brain is you've taught your body to do a certain thing for so long, and then all of a sudden it just short circuits. That's essentially what's happening. And what happened to you, Patrick, is your body kind of short circuited for that time being, for that one part, that time period. Your body short circuited.
Man, I'm trying to tell you for two. I was, it even caused some mental, because it was like there's no, like I was going through it mentally because of that. Like I really, to the point I would go to the gym by myself and try to shoot, and I really could not just shoot. Like I didn't know what to do. But then Trav, in a sense, he cussed me out, but it was like the stuff he was saying was the stuff I needed to hear. Like, some of the stuff Coach Orr said or whatever. So that's why the people, because sometimes, once you are chasing something or you just get locked in, you don't think about how far you came. You just think about how far you got to go.
Hmm.
Sometimes because of other people's expectations. But however, I only thought of that because of how I see myself. Like, I don't care how everybody else see me. I hold me to a certain standard, which is higher than a lot of people. So yeah, so that kind of like made me go through it a lot mentally. But having those people around you who've seen the progress or just seen the stuff that you do is very beneficial, because they will remind you. So that was that guy. He reminded me, and then once he reminded, my game took off. So it was like, yeah. So that's
And
that's my opinion.
just saying that, hey, you're good. Just hearing that, you're good, you're fine. This
Mhm.
is I know what you're capable of. So let's, having that support there and saying, dude, let's get through this together kind of thing. And I know this personally because, the amount of time I've been married, you're going to go through your ups and downs, but at the same time, it's good to have that support. And that's why I talk about, that inner circle, people that are there when the chips are down or there's something that you need, or you just need to hear certain words and they know the right words to say. God puts them in your life and they kind of say the right words and you're like, man, dude, thank you. I needed that.
Yeah. And that's Pat for me, honestly. I mean, like, and as long as I've known Pat, he's always been kind of like I don't know, just like a very positive, and not even positive, but just like always honest, like always tells me like not what I want to hear, but what I need to hear. And most of the time, what I want to hear though, just because I know like where he's coming from and why he's saying what he's saying to me, and like it's like the seeing how like the belief someone has in themselves and then the belief they have in you, like you start to believe it, to be true about yourself, and this it's not negative things, it's positive things, it's just like you said, it's like if you have a negative person and if you always have somebody saying negative things about you and you don't have anything positive said about you, then you might start to believe the negative,
Hmm.
but in
Say it
this case.
enough and it becomes a reality. It becomes
Yeah,
truth.
exactly,
Right.
exactly. So, and I mean, just having like that person, like I said, that tells you what you need to hear, and be there when you need some advice or if you need to pick me up, and just have somebody in your corner that's going through the same things as you. Um, and like he said, we're always so focused on the long term and how far we have to go. But if me and Pat look back at where we came from and like not even 6 7 years ago, where we were and how far we've came so far, like if we do that same thing in the next 7 years, we'll be living pretty great lives, pretty basically where we want to be in life, so like you said, realizing how far you've come always helps as well. And I don't know, like I said, I mean, ever since um like we've been teammates, in the past, and
I really enjoyed this conversation, guys. It really is something that a lot of stuff was brought to light. I think that we as individuals need to be cognizant and need to be caring about one another. It's, you know, men, we kind of get a bad rap, but at the same time, we're as men, we want to protect. We want to make sure others, we want to lift each other up. We don't want to be the ones that are constantly breaking each other down. And I think that those are things we have to try to avoid. At the same time, we in order to build men, you got to have some sort of accountability. There's got to be the discipline. There's got to be the showing up and being there, being present. Because, you know, I ain't gonna lie to you, having a good ass whooping occasionally will set me straight. And this is just, I'm talking personally, you know.
That's facts.
And I'm not gonna lie to you. The losing is okay. And if you learn to lose, you'll learn to even be greater at winning because everybody hates losing, but you got to hate to lose more than you love to win in order to
Facts.
be because if everybody's constantly telling you you're a winner, it's okay when it's not okay, when they perform bad and everybody's telling them they did okay. I mean, you're lying. You're beginning a lie that's going to continue to morph into something that the person starts believing the lies that they're hearing. So
Mm-hmm.
we have to be more accountable as individuals. Can we be a little bit more kind in the way we say it versus saying you suck? Yeah, we can basically say, hey, these are things you need to work on and get better at. Now it's up to you as far as what you're going to do with it.
Mhm.
And you have to be whether it's as an individual man, woman, whoever, you have to basically say, you have to be willing to be open to the criticism. Because a lot of people, we are dealing now where people get, the minute they get criticized, they fold up instead of embracing it and saying, okay, I need to get better at this. All of a sudden, you're going to get your feelings hurt, or who are you to tell me you suck? They get defensive, right? How many times have you had that happen where you're trying to give someone some feedback and all of a sudden it turns into a argument, and that shouldn't be the case. If I'm providing you feedback, you know, Travis, I know I've provided you feedback before, um, and you embrace it, you take it, you're like, and if you are acknowledging that there is a mistake or that you may have a certain behavior, the first thing you could say is, you know what? You're right. I do need to do better. I do need to improve upon what I'm doing. And I don't think we're seeing enough of that.
This is what I realized with people, because a lot of people come talk to me, and then also vice versa. I used to talk to people or whatever, but then I realized there's no point in me going to ask somebody else because I'm going to do what I want to do anyways. And then if they don't give me the answer I want to hear, I'm just going to get mad. So that's what people do. So it's like you take that time and have that conversation. Not saying you don't need help or whatever, definitely. But before you do it, what they say, the first step to recovery is admit you have a problem. So you have to have that conversation with yourself, and then you will be more receptive to somebody telling you the same thing because you just told yourself that. So, but if
You
you're
also
not,
have
then
free
the
will,
person.
Pat. You have God gives
Mhm.
us all free will to basically either take a good road or a bad road, to basically
Exactly.
receive or reject. So,
Mm.
people and most people, if you have good discernment, you're going to know if they want the best for you. For instance, if I have if you were talking about your relationship with Travis, if Travis gives you some advice, or he gives you a suggestion, or he acknowledges you're doing something wrong, you're, why why not accept it because you know it's coming from a good place, and then vice versa, versus waiting till you get to rock bottom before you actually do something about it.
That's just,
But then some people got to hit rock bottom. Some people say, I've heard that before. Sometimes I needed to hit rock bottom in order for me to realize everything that I had. Because there are some people that are willing to take in the information and filter out what's good and what's bad. And there are some people who are just stubborn. They just don't want, they're stubborn in their ways. They want to do it the way they've always done it, and not kind of pivot and turn towards maybe something different that might benefit them in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
I agree.
So Travis, what games do you have this weekend? Okay.
And then we
Is
have
there going to be any streaming going on? Can you send us the link?
yeah, it should be on the SBL play app or website.
You want to tell everybody how they can communicate with you other than the podcast?
Oh yeah, you can connect through Instagram. That's mainly the one I use. So at Pat__Burnett, or you could contact through the Reps on Reps page, and then throughout that, anything I'll probably just give out my number. To be honest, I like communication outside of social media. Honestly,
This was a great podcast. I appreciate my guests Patrick Burnett and Travis Mconico joining me today. This is Chop It Up Hoops with your pal Sal. Be kind to each other, and God bless.
Peace.